My name is Teon Monet Dobie, and I am from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. At the age of 3, I was taken from my mother's care. I was left in a crack house for days, and none of my family members knew where I was or anything. And my mom had recently just given birth to my brother. So they're like, oh, where's Teon? Where's Teon? But anyway, they found me in some random ass house, and that's when I was given to my Uncle Jody. Actually took me, and he took my brother who was just born. And I want to say, like at the time, he was like 2 months. So my uncle took both of us into his care, and I was completely removed from my mother. And my uncle was a single parent. I mean, he had plenty of girlfriends, but none of them were stable or loving, caring women. They were all crazy and trifling. He had 2 other daughters who were much older than us, but I grew up with them being my sister. And my whole life, me and my uncle just had like a really rocky relationship. I really don't know where it started. Maybe I reminded him too much of my mother because him and my mom hate each other. We just always just clashed. And maybe the start of it was because my brother was 2 months and I was 3. So I was already familiar. Like I already called him Uncle Jody. Like I already knew who he was. My brother was only 2 months. So my brother grew up calling him dad and calling his girlfriend mom. So there was already like separation between us. And people used to be confused, like, that's your brother, but why does he call him dad and why did you call him uncle? One of the first times I ever felt heartbroken and I really started to realize how my uncle felt about me, it was when, I want to say I was like in kindergarten, and my uncle worked in this nice bank, and a news crew was coming around and they were like just interviewing people, and they ended up interviewing my uncle, but it ended up airing on TV and we watched it, and he was like, yeah, I have 3 children, Shamik, Gina, and Dana. And I was like, ooh. Me and my uncle had a big falling out. Like, he beat my tail and he was like, oh yeah, you're getting out of my house. And I moved to Raleigh. I moved to Raleigh with my mom and my grandmother. And at the time, my grandmother was selling cocaine and my mom was on cocaine. My 8th birthday, 3rd grade, and my mom was way too high. Didn't even know it was my birthday. I don't even know where my grandmother was. And I remember just sitting on the front porch crying. And my uncle just happened to pull up and he popped the trunk. And he had all these toys in the back. And I remember just hugging him. I was like, oh, I just want to go back home. I am the first person in my family to go to college. Of course, I have help from my boyfriend and my godparents. And of course, God, like, I'm not doing anything by myself.